All right, so when we talk about SEO, let's just kind of get a little bit visual here. All right, let's just say that this is your website. All right, the first important thing that I want to drive home to you is that the reality of it is while you're optimizing your website, you're really optimizing web pages. And remember that your overarching goal, right, because you got all these different pages, maybe you got a menu, right, you might have links on your page, but you've got, this might be your About Us, or this might be a sales page. Google's job, and the other search engine's job, is to give their users the best possible results. All right, so right out of the gates, remember that you're not just optimizing a website, you're optimizing web pages, and that Google is smarter than you are. All right, a decade ago, we used to play all these weird games trying to game the system. No matter what I teach you, remember that if you do things the right way, yes, there are ways to get ahead. Don't take shortcuts, and just remember, if you can give the thing that Google wants, which is the best result for something that somebody's looking for, you will win in the end. So if we think about search engines as a whole, there's 5 major keys that make optimization successful. And the first one is having a quality site. Okay, so what do I mean by a quality site? 3 major things that I want you to think about with this. First of all, and probably the most important, is the speed of your site. And I'm telling you this up front right now, because if you have a really crappy, clunky, old school website, or if you have a very basic sales funnel that doesn't have a lot of content and it's only got one page, I just want you to know up front that you might be wasting a lot of time and energy trying to optimize for that site or for that page. So just make sure you have a quality site. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be whiz bang. But with this quality, the most important thing here is the speed. Okay, so if you look at your site and you've got a lot of fancy plugins or fancy code, a lot of junk that you don't need, kill that junk, get rid of it. Anything that you can do to streamline the experience and make it faster, okay? The next item when it comes to site quality is being accessible. Okay, and what do I mean by that? This is actually not only a very good thing to do for the world, this is a tip that very few people even know. Google wants to make sure that they're giving equal opportunity to the entire world to get the best results. And some of those people might be, hearing impaired or have bad eyesight, whatever it might be. So just know that, and there's very cool plugins and things that you can add to your site these days that make it very simple. I would just Google, how do I make my site accessible, or accessibility plugin, or something along those lines. But if you can make your site so that it's accessible not only to people that might have handicaps, but also in other languages. All right, a very, very good tip is, for example, if you can have Google Translate on your site so that it's accessible to more people, you're instantly opening it up to more people and making it more likely that Google's going to want to serve up your web pages and their results. All right, and the third and final thing in regards to the quality of the site is to make it crawlable. All right, so this term, we're going to discuss this more a little bit later in the lesson, but you have to imagine the way that search engines work is they actually have these things called spiders, which sounds, very kind of weird and futuristic, and I have no idea how any of this stuff really works, but as long as you understand it conceptually, then you can win with the search engine game. So imagine that when a search engine spider comes and crawls your site, right? They probably start on your homepage, or they could start on your other pages, and what they do is they follow the different links going from one page to another to another. And when your website is like bogged down, or for example, if the only links going from one page to the next are image-based, spiders don't do images. Spiders follow text links. So that's an important note that I would write down, okay? Because you're going to find that linking is, in my opinion, the most important aspect of SEO. So this crawlability, we're going to talk more about this a little bit, but just understanding that your overarching website, the quality of your website, right, is that thing that if you don't get that under control, all of the rest of these details are all kind of useless, all right? So the next point that I want to show you here, the major point, number 2, in regards to really dialing in your SEO, And this is really, beyond having a good site, this is where your first homework comes in, and that's doing your keyword research. All right, what keywords are you going to optimize for? All right, so just like you use search engines every single day, you've got to get into the mind of your user and figure out what are the things that you want to be found for so that you can decide how you're going to optimize your site. So I'm assuming at this point you've used a search engine before, and so you get how this works. So when you think about keyword research, first of all, I'll let you know that there's a million fancy plugins out there, and there's a lot of different tools that you can use to help with keyword research. There are some very good tools, and depending on how serious you want to get about it, maybe you can go looking for those tools. But I'm just going to tell you that your number one tool in figuring out what keywords you want to go for is ultimately Google. Right? Just go to Google and type in some ideas of what people might be looking for with your site. So when it comes to keyword research, okay, 3 major deciding factors when you make the decision of which keywords to go for. All right, the first thing that you want to decide on, based upon, is the volume of the search. Right? If you're talking about a keyword that's got 10 searches a month, is it really worth a lot of energy? It's really not. Right? It'll end up being a waste of time. So really look to see, and how do you find out the volume? Obviously, you could make assumptions if you want to just go to Google and just kind of ballpark it. I would recommend using the Google keyword tool. There's other tools out there, but just set up a Google AdWords account. It's absolutely free. You can type in any keyword phrase that you want, all right? And remember that usually keywords come in phrases. So for example, I used to own a company called BoardGames.com, no longer do. So for us, the highest volume was the term board games, right? But that obviously, even though it's the highest volume, doesn't mean that I'll be able to win that one. Now, we were able to get to the first page of Google for the term board games because we were BoardGames.com. All right. Remember that the quality of your domain does make a difference. And I won't go into that too much because at this point, I'm assuming you already have a domain. But if you can get the actual keyword phrase into the domain, that definitely is a big plus. All right, so look at the Google Keyword Planner. It's called the Google Keyword Planner tool. Type in any phrase that you want. So for us, then we look and see, okay, we want, kids board games, family board games, adventure board games. We just start adding different keyword phrases. All right, we start looking at puzzles, or we start looking at, just card games, just all sorts of different phrases. You just want to plug in as many phrases as you possibly can to find out what the volume is going to be. The second thing that you want to look at is you want to look at the competition. Again, there's a lot of fancy tools out there. But if you just take that keyword phrase, like if you were to go to Google and type in board games, you're going to see that you're competing against Amazon and all these big behemoth companies. Now, if you start going for a more specific, like party board games, you're going to do a search and you're going to see, okay, well now what's my competition? I've got these niche sites that are out there, what's going on, right? So just look at it and just ask yourself the question, can I beat these sites? Now, I'm going to tell you this, just because these are big sites doesn't mean that you can't beat them. The reality of it is we've, even as just a small shop, 1 or 2 people, we've been able to rank for terms with my old business partner in an SEO business, even 1-word phrases like fountain and just like keyword phrases you wouldn't believe because of the strategies that I'm about to teach you here today. But it does make a major difference to look at your competition. So if you're looking at it and you're going, there's no way I can beat any of these sites that are for the first page of this, just remember, page 2 doesn't matter. Nobody cares about page 2. So look at the competition and not only look like how big are these sites, but how specific are they? So if it's an article for a big magazine, you can beat an article, right? But if it's the major magazine's homepage, that's going to be more difficult, okay? So number 2 is competition. And the third thing, and I think the most overlooked factor, is what's the value of the keyword that you're going for, right? So what's the value? So not all keywords are created the same, because at the end of the day, assuming that your goal here is to make sales, maybe it's not, right? But for us at Board Games, what we did ultimately is we go, okay, let's not just optimize for the term party board game. Let's optimize for the term buy party board game. And let's take a quick look at this just really quick. Really quickly, take a quick look at this really quick. So party board game, all right? If we look at this, this still has this is buy party board game, all right? Let's put the word, let's write this out again here, guys. All right, buy party board game, okay? It's important to really drive this point home. So the term buy party board game is probably not a very hard term to go for. Why do I like it a lot? Because I'll take 1 click for the term buy party board game than I would 10 clicks from the term find party board game. All right, so the intention of the keyword really sets the value. And if you look at this phrase, here's the beautiful thing about optimizing for what they call long tail keywords. All right, long tail meaning they're not searched very often. They're more specific. They're longer phrases, buy, party, board game. But here's what's beautiful about this, is this word buy gives it a ton of value. And just because we are going for the entire term buy party board game doesn't mean that we won't still get traffic for the term party board game, right? Or the term board game. So it's okay to go for longer terms and really design your keyword phrases with that in mind. Something that's going to be an intention of value, right? Paired with a major keyword phrase with an extension of that keyword phrase to make it more specific. All right, so those are the 3 factors that you're going to use when doing your keyword research. You're going to look at the volume, the competition, and the value, and keep in mind that you can string together phrases in this capacity. All right, so getting back to our major 3 factors here. Quality of site, number 1. Keyword research is number 2. All right, the 3rd factor is going to be your on-page optimization. All right, and this simply comes down to this web page, or this web page, or this web page, or this web page. How well are these individual pages optimized? And some of this stuff you're going to do on an entire site basis, and some of it you're going to do on an individual page basis. So this ultimately comes down to a big checklist of stuff that you need to get done for each individual page. So I'm going to kind of run you through this list right now. So this is the what we call on-page optimization. All right, and your first major concept with on-page optimization is your page copy, or let's say page text. Right? This is what are the words that are actually on the page. So when it comes to your the copy on your page, first and foremost, generally speaking, more words is better. Now, don't create words for the sake of creating words. Again, you can't game the system when it comes to Google. All right, but know that if you've got just 150 words versus another page that's got 2,000 words, they've got a lot more stuff for search engines to grab a hold of and to find. All right, so if you can provide more, don't do any more words than you necessarily need to, but more is generally better than less. All right, the next thing is making sure that your keyword phrase, your desired keyword phrase, is found on that page. Now, years ago, we used to really focus on this thing called keyword density. What does that mean? Well, you'd say, hey, you want to get 7% of the words on your page are going to have this specific keyword. It's not as big of a deal anymore. It's something to keep in mind that you will want to have your keyword kind of sprinkled throughout, but don't do it in such a way that's going to be in any way unnatural, okay? So no funny business whatsoever. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Here is a pro tip, and I want to really make sure that you write this one down, is that over the past so many years, Google has gotten a lot smarter. Whereas before, it used to be, hey, you get this keyword or this keyword or this keyword. Now what Google does is they really identify variations of games. So there's certain terms that mean the same thing, right? So like, for example, I've also optimized for terms like real estate investing, real estate investment, real estate investor. And there used to be a time where those things were all completely mutual exclusive. So for example, investment property and investment real estate. Those are two terms that are very, very similar. So a pro tip and something that I highly recommend doing is once you decide which terms you're going to optimize for, take it to the next level and create a list of 2 or 3 variations of that keyword that are different yet similar. And then what you want to do is you want to pepper those words in throughout so that you're not using the same phrase, but you're also really telling Google, hey, this is good for all of these phrases. And we're going to tell you in just a minute how you're going to additionally use those variations in another way. Because after you've gotten the actual text, the next thing you want to do is something called metadata. All right, and this is, well, the text is obviously on your page, right? This is the stuff that you see right here and that any human being can read. The metadata is the stuff that's behind the page in the code. So for a search engine user, when you're on a search engine, you type in and you see the search engine result. So the search engine result is actually pulled from the code, from the metadata of the page. So the metadata, the primary factors when it comes to metadata, number 1 are your page title. And this is, in the search engine result, this is the main link that you see, right? So your page title, you got to make sure that it's very succinct, right? You got to keep it within the character limit. Like we can just go to Google if you want to figure out the character limit and just copy any of the page titles. But you also want to make sure not only that it consists of your keyword phrase for that particular page, but you also got to remember this. One of the biggest overlooked factors with search engine optimization is people try to get too techie with it and they forget to put their marketing hat on. All of the optimization in the world doesn't mean a darn thing if people don't click on your search result. All right, remember this. So when you're writing your page titles, use those keyword phrases, but also make it something desirable that people want to click on. Think about it like it was a subject line or a headline, because one of the big factors, people don't take this into consideration. One of the big factors when it comes to SEO is that people actually click on the link when they find you in the search results. So really that page title is one of the most important factors that you have with SEO. The next factor is the meta description. And the meta description, whenever you use Google and you see the main link and you see a very short description underneath that, that's the meta description. And there's also one more thing, and that's called meta keywords. From what Google tells us, these are no longer really a major factor, but these 3 things make up the meta description. Now you're going to say, well, Matt, how do I add this? I'm not a programmer. The vast majority of website programs now give you the capability, if you're using WordPress or ClickFunnels or whatever, they'll give you actual little boxes where you go. You might have to add a plugin or something for SEO, but you don't have to be a techie to do this unless you've paid a techie to build a custom site for you. In that case, just go back to your programmer and say, hey, add this metadata. Okay? So the metadata is the second major factor when it comes to on-page optimization. The next one is going to be just having like emphasis. And here's what I mean by that is H1, H2. Okay, so on a page, you've got the page copy up here, all this text. Google doesn't read every word exactly the same. Okay, so with this H1, H2, these are headers. So when you're looking at a page and there's like there's bigger text and it's bolded, those are usually headers. So generally speaking, most website editors will give you the ability to add, if you've ever seen an editor, it's got headers, H1, H2. By adding those things, it tells Google, hey, these words are extra important. So again, you don't want to write specifically, like you don't want headers that are only your keyword. You might say in our example, so you want to buy party board games, ? Right? Perfect example of a header that uses the keyword phrase, but it is also natural in the way that it's delivered. The next thing is just simply bolding text. Helps out a little bit. There's something called alt text for images. So if you've got an image and somebody for whatever reason can't see it. But these things are a little bit less important. These two things are by far, when it comes to on-page optimization, the most important things. And I will say, just for a bonus here, when it comes to on-page optimization, there are a few additional things that you can do. One of them, for example, that I don't know that a lot of people talk about this, but I've seen the power of it with my own eyes, is that, as you know, Google owns YouTube. So what I found is just simply by adding a few YouTube videos to a page, if I've gotten an instant boost in search rank. So adding YouTube videos is definitely valuable. And something that's relatively new is also adding links that leave your website and go to other websites, as long as those websites are high quality, relevant websites. All right. So the last thing that you want to do is leave your site to go somewhere that's not quality. But now, the more that Google has really dialed this in, they want to send people to pages that give value to their users. And if you show that you're providing value by adding links that go to other websites, that is helpful. Now, a quick tip on this. Not only is the page text, a very, very big deal, but the order in which that text comes is also a big deal. So remember, we were talking about the search engine spiders and how they come to a website and they'll start at the top and they'll kind of crawl their way down and go through the menu and all those different things. If you've got more important stuff, put it at the top, right? If you've got, for example, links that lead to another website, don't put those at the very top, because what happens is those spiders will be crawling along your website. They'll find those links to go to other sites, and then they'll leave and go to their website. You want to keep the spiders on your site as much as you can, crawling around. So while it is a cool little tip to add quality links, don't do that at the top of your page by any means. All right, so those are the basics of how you can actually optimize your website. So that was number 3. We're going to scroll back over here. All right. So now that you have optimized your web page, this is a huge one that people overlook. The next one is to optimize your on-page linking. All right, I'm going to tell you that even though we've spent a lot of time to get to this point, I believe that the majority of search engine optimization comes down to links, okay? And everybody always talks about, and I'll just let the cat out of the bag, number 5 is links from other sites, but not enough people talk about links on your actual own website, all right? So we've been talking about, the spiders and how they come in and they crawl your website and they go to your menu and they go to the links and they go to the different pages, all right? I really want you to think about the structure of what your website looks like, and think about it in such a way where it's not just the spiders having a path to crawl around, but it's also the analogy that's been used many times over the years is what they call link juice, right? So think about the link juice. So just imagine that if a search engine comes here, right, and they've got a full cup and they're spilling it some to this link and some to this link. And like I said, the order of these links is very, very, very relevant. And when you link to somewhere else is also very, very, very relevant. So just think about how you're going to interconnect your pages, and you want to do that in a variety of ways. So your menu is obviously a very big one. Make sure that you have a very clean menu that's got text-based links instead of like some images or whatever, so that the search engines can follow those text links. And how do you know if it's a text link? If you can highlight over the text and it highlights the individual letters, then you know that it's a text link. So make sure that your menu is strong, and then beyond that, you want to have what they call, you want to have actual links within your text, right? So you've got a paragraph of text and you have a keyword phrase right here, and this keyword phrase then links to this page, and this page links to this page, and this page links to this page. And think about your website as this interconnected structure, and keep this thing natural. All right, I'll tell you that years ago we just built these hierarchies in such a way that's like this, and then this goes to this, but the reality of it is Google's not looking for that. They want to just find a website that allows people to freely go around and find everything they need, but they don't want it to be so structured. Your menu will give the structure, okay? Your menu will give the structure, so don't worry about that. When it comes to your interconnected links within your website, what you want to do is you want to make sure that those are using keyword phrases, but they're using keyword phrase variations. So not the exact keyword phrase, but the randomized variations of the keyword. Again, the key here is that everything is natural, all right? And the last point that I want to make here is you got to make sure that you have a sitemap set up on your website. All right, so your on-page linking is going to be the menu, and it's going to be the text links within your text, but you also got to have a sitemap. This is just basic fundamental SEO 101. So hopefully your site came with the sitemap, or if not, you might need a plugin, whatever that might be. But a sitemap is just simply a structured list of links that's designed in such a way that specifically tells the search engines what's important and what's not. Now, if you want to get fancy with it, and you've got a plugin or you've got the ability to edit this in your menu, you can actually go into your sitemap and you can tell the search engines which pages are the most important pages. All right, so that they're not all weighted the same, but the most important pages get the most attention. But again, that's kind of next level. Just make sure, as a mandatory thing, that when you're making your to-do list from this video, that make sure I have a sitemap is definitely one of those, okay? Now, takes us to number 5. Number 5 are off-page links. Off-page links. These are all the links from all of the interwebs that come into your website. I would say of all, these are things that are sort of like, yeah, you got to have a good site, right? You got to do good keyword research. Like, this is your bread and butter. This is what drives this. This is what drives this, and this is what drives this. Literally, number 2 is what powers number 3 through 5. So you have to do this. This is fundamental from the get-go. Then you're going to take care of your on-page optimization and your on-page linking. But the reality of it is, these are things that you're going to get done, and when they're done, they're done. Okay? When it comes to off-page links, links from other sites into your site, that's the work with SEO that's never done. And that is how, if you do it right, even a little website, it doesn't matter what your niche is, can potentially beat a big player if you put in continued effort with the off-page links. Okay, so again, remember, when it comes to search engine, you got to make sure that those links are text-based links. And it's also very important that they're keyword links whenever possible. So 3 major factors to take into consideration when you are building links from other websites. All right, so this is off-page links. 3 factors. Number 1 is the quantity. How many links do you have coming in? Obviously, more links are better than less links. Number 2 is the quality. All right, if you get a link from Wikipedia or USA Today, it's going to hold way more weight than Bob's Dog Food. Okay, so the quality of these links is a very big deal, and it's not just the quality of the sites; it's also the quality of the keyword. All right, so just keep in mind that, like, for example, a .edu page is like the holy grail when it comes to off-page linking. If you can get a link from, and we were able to achieve this at BoardGames.com because we found a student organization, right, that was into board games. We donated some board games to them. They had a .edu. They gave us a link. Next thing you know, we're the #1 site for board games. Okay, so just keep in mind that obviously the links do matter. And third, and probably just as important, or if not more important, is the relevancy. All right, so if you sell, supercomputers and Bob's Dog Food links to you, that's all but irrelevant. It doesn't make a huge difference, right? But if you can get a major pet blog to link to you in your Bob's Dog Food, you sure as hell better believe that that's going to make a massive, massive, massive difference. So, all right, I'm just going to recap this stuff all really, really quick so that you can make sure that you got your notes and you get it fundamentally here. All right, so let's scroll back to the beginning. All right, the 5 major factors when it comes to search engine optimization. Number one is the quality of your site. So just get that dialed in, make sure it's fast, make sure it's accessible, and think about how an actual spider from a search engine would go through it. Do your keyword research. All right, think about what are the best things that people are going to be looking for you, what's the value of those things, how hard is the competition, what's the volume, and then also be clever like we showed you and use phrases that contain multiple phrases. You can definitely have your cake and eat it too if you're smart about your keyword research. Next is on-page optimization. This is making sure that you have all the major factors on there. You've got the text. That's all good. You've got the metadata, the information that's behind there, the descriptions, all those kind of things. After you've done that, then you're going to set up your on-page linking. You're going to make sure that your website is all interconnected. You do that through the menu, do that through text within the links, and you do that by having a sitemap. And then last, but certainly not least, is your off-page links, is getting other websites, and you're going to do this by, doing guest blog posts and posting social media and writing articles for sites. You can have links that come from YouTube. Just getting links from all over the place. The higher the quality of the site, the better. The more volume, the better, and the more relevancy, the better. So that is SEO. I really took this thing from A to Z. With the big takeaway here is remembering that this is work, and it is a little bit of work. But even if you do hire somebody to do this for you, understanding the basics of how it works and understanding that an investment today can pay you dividends for years and years and years and years. And now is the absolute best time to start creating content, start getting those links, start getting the website dialed in so that the Google gods can smile upon you, my friend. I'm Matt Lights, and I will see you in the next training. Hey, Matt Lights here. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you want to see some more, you should see them right over there, or even better yet, if you hover over my head, you'll be able to get subscribed and see all my videos as they come out. Last but not least, if you want to get some free training, free downloads, go to swipemystuff.com, swipemystuff.com. I'll see you on the next video.